And welcome to the latest edition of the panel where we discuss what's hot, what's not, and what the latest trends are in the collectible marketplace. I'm Bram Weinstein, and let's meet our expert panelists this week. David Kohler, President, SCP Auctions. Hey, David, how are you?
I'm doing great. Getting excited to go to the National here in the next day or two, and it's going to be very interesting.
Hold your horses. That's the last topic of the day. Nick Sapero, independent contractor and consultant in the collectible marketplace. Hey, Nick, how are you?
Good. How are you, Bram?
I'm good. Jesse Craig, Director of Business Development, PWCC Marketplace. Hey, Jesse, what's up?
Hey, what's up, Bram?
All right, we'll get to the National in a moment. Three big topics. Let's start with the big one from Milwaukee, which is Giannis is in rarefied air. One of the only three players in NBA history to be an NBA Finals MVP, an NBA regular season MVP, and a Defensive Player of the Year award winner. The company he keeps is Michael Jordan and Hakeem Olajuwon. The Milwaukee Bucks win their first championship in 50 years, and he did it in style with a 50-point, 14-board, 6-block Game 6 finale as they knocked off the Phoenix Suns. So, David, let me start with you. The marketplace for Giannis memorabilia is what now?
I mean, obviously, it's just taken off amazing. What a player. His personality, what he did. I can't believe they came back after being down, 2-0 and winning 4 games in a row. 50 points in the last, game. Historic. And he's just loved by worldwide. And certainly his memorabilia, it's going to take off. It already has. And it's got such a bright future for sure.
Jesse, what do you see in the marketplace for Giannis moving forward?
Well, I think he really cemented his legacy. We always talk about in our industry, championships being baked in if we anticipate someone winning it in terms of their card prices. And that's what we saw with his cards. And then with the bubble and them falling short in the bubble, getting beat by Miami, it actually really affected his card prices. So I think what we're going to see is a huge rebound on Giannis. I think that, the way he did it in style, like David said, dropping 50 is a crazy way to close out the finals. And he's in rare company. So we're going to see a big uptick, in my opinion, in his card values here in the short future.
Last September, Nick, there was one of his rookie cards that went for nearly $2 million, which at the time was one of the highest rookie cards for a basketball player ever. It's since been surpassed. But now that he's done this, what do you see moving forward with Giannis?
I see the sky is the limit for Giannis. Giannis, to me, is one of the most investable players. He's still super young, has a ton of years under his belt already, coming into the league at 18. So it's one of those things that, for me, I think his brand is great. Has a good brand backing in Nike as well. So to me, I think his investability, I think he will be for at least the next 10 years the face of the NBA. So for me, I'm investing in Giannis. I like the play of Giannis. He put the team on his back, and I think he could do that for a solid 5 years until potentially he needs more help than he already has.
Jesse, is there any way to get into this now that this has happened in an affordable manner, or has that ship sailed in a situation like this?
I guess you'd have to define affordable. Affordable is different for everybody. Look, there's a wide range of Giannis cards out there. You don't have to buy only rookie cards. You can find value in second, third year cards. So there's a bit of the market that anyone can scoop up for Giannis. But one thing that I love that nobody's mentioned yet, and this is one of the biggest risks with younger players, is injuries, right? Like Giannis has stayed fairly healthy, and we saw that what could have been a horrific knee injury, he came back and he only missed 2 games. I mean, everyone thought he was done for the playoffs. So that builds confidence from an investability standpoint that he's I don't want to say bulletproof, but the risk of injury is less with someone of his caliber than it maybe would be another player.
All right, let's go back in history then. We'll see what Giannis's career looks like over this period of time. He'll be hard-pressed to do the things that Bill Russell did in his career, winning 11 championships as a member of the Boston Celtics. And he recently announced that he is going to sell off a good portion of his personal collection, which will include the first and last of his 11 NBA championship rings from 1957 and 1969, 4 of his 5 NBA MVP trophies, an Olympic gold medal and a warm-up jacket from the 1956 games, and many other incredible, unique items. So, David, let's start with you here. First, just in general, can you kind of give us a sense of the scope of what Bill Russell is doing and what a value might be on these types of items?
This is an incredible collection, especially in the basketball world. I actually was aware of this collection, and unfortunately, my company, SCP Auctions, won't be handling it. But it's going to do fantastic. There's so many people that want this vintage memorabilia. Obviously, Bill Russell being one of the icons of the game. These rings, these trophies, these game-worn jerseys. You know, we've handled a lot of this stuff in our past in my company. We did Bob Cousy's collection, the Auerbach family's collection, John Havlicek's collection, a lot of the Celtics we've done in the past. Julius Erving's in 2011 brought record prices at the time, which was about 10 years ago. I think his one ABA ring brought $460,000. This is 10 years ago. His MVP awards were bringing, 150 to 250,000, things like that. Certainly in today's environment, I expect those prices to be at a lot loftier level. People love to buy collections that come right from the players, so there's going to be record prices in this basketball memorabilia coming from Bill Russell.
Nick, what's your just general sense of what's happening here with this lot that's going out from Bill Russell?
I love it. I think Dave didn't get the collection because they found out he's the biggest Lakers fan, so they just couldn't do it. But no, in all seriousness, I think it's a historic collection from a memorabilia end. I think if you're a basketball fan, I think you have to own something. Some of those items, they won't be in my price range, but I think they belong in a museum somewhere. It's a one-of-a-kind offering that's sure to please many collectors.
Jesse, I want to talk about cards versus game-worns or unique items like a gold medal or a warm-up jacket, which obviously is a one-off. As you kind of look at the investment cycle, and obviously anybody would love to collect something like Bill Russell's warm-up jacket from the 1956 Olympics, but as you look at the investment model, where do you gravitate towards? Cards or these unique game-worn or these types of memorabilia?
Well, I think they both have their place in any high-end collection. Because with memorabilia, everything, if it's game-worn, it's all unique, it's all one-of-one. And that's why, it's so hard to price memorabilia items, is because it's the only one in the world. So we have the same thing with trading cards as well. There are trading cards out there that are one of a kind. They're one of one, whether they're serial numbered one of a one, or maybe they're a population one of one, and there's no other cards that are graded as high. So I think that the desirability for both is huge. And what we're seeing right now in the market is rare pieces, whether it's memorabilia or cards, are garnering a massive premium.
David, what are you seeing in the marketplace as opposed in terms of what collectors are looking for? Are they going for the cards? Are they trying to find these kind of one-off pieces of memorabilia from the past?
I mean, I'm very bullish on the memorabilia. Obviously, the cards, people can understand that easier. Like Jesse said, one of one or one of 50, things like that. But we've seen the prices are so incredibly high, and you could build some for 500,000 or 5 million. You can build these great memorabilia collections of game worn. Again, that's all authentic, photo matched, all these different things. Trophies, artifacts from the players. You can build some great display pieces. A Babe Ruth game used bat. I mean, those are still only 100,000. Maybe if it's signed or a milestone bat, it's $1 million. But really, that's cheap. And I think a lot of people are starting to recognize that and looking at that as something that they want to do. And you can build a world-class collection in 5, 10, 15 years. You really can in certain categories. Have a lot of fun with it, and it will be worth a lot more later, without a doubt.
Just one quick note about what Bill Russell is doing. A number of proceeds of the auction are going to go to a Boston-based company called Mentor, which is a charity organization that he co-founded that looks to improve the quality of mentoring relationships. And another amount of the proceeds will be going to the United for Social Justice Initiative. All right, topic 3. Let's keep going back in time here. This seems to pop up in this industry a lot. Honus Wagner, who's like the golden goose of the industry, at least the initial golden goose. Another card is now up for auction, and it could end up being the most expensive card ever sold. There's a legend out there that no one has ever lost any money on a Honus Wagner card. So, Jesse, what is it about this particular person or this particular item in history where the value just continues to go up and up and up?
It's rarity, and that's what we keep talking about, right? So rarity wins the day. They actually didn't have his permission to use his likeness on these trading cards that were put in tobacco packs, and so many of them were destroyed. And there's only 60 so odd examples that are known to exist. And so it makes sense that these, nobody's ever lost money on a Wagner because they don't trade hands very often. So usually when they do, they set records, and they're in strong hands, and they don't trade very often. So it's not surprising that a card like this coming on the market is going to set a record.
What's really odd about it, though, is if you say who are the greatest baseball players of all time, no one names this person. Like, this is never a name that pops up and says Honus Wagner is one of the greatest baseball players of all time, and yet there's this value. So, Nick, what do you make of this Honus Wagner almost mystique about his cards?
He has a huge mystique just in the hobby in general. I mean, there's a full book written on the card. So when you could write, let's say, a 200-300 page book on this card, I think it tells a story that goes well beyond the hobby. To me, it's a great book. It's called The Card, if anybody wants to read it. But to me, it's the founding kind of the hobby. It's from the iconic T206 tobacco set. To me, it's a foundational element to anybody's collection if they're getting into cards or even memorabilia. It's one of those things that people want to own. And I think it'll always be relevant within our hobby.
He's like the Stan Lee of collecting. Like, he just pops up everywhere, and he's ubiquitous with all of it. David, have you ever had any proximity to any of the Wagner cards?
Yes, I have. We actually sold the finest one, the PSA 8, in 2007, which was 15 years ago. That went for $2.8 million, which was a record at the time. And today that card's probably worth $25 million, $35 million. I mean, it would bring an amazing amount of money. And of course, I go way back. We always said this would be the first $100,000 card, and it was. And then we said it was going to be the first $1 million card, and it was. And here we are, way a multiple of that. It's in the 30s when they came out with the first price guide. It was listed the most expensive card, even then in the 30s, for $50 in the baseball card. The first kind of price guide or catalog, if you want to call it that, very archaic at that time. And to add to the story, we handled Honus Wagner's collection for his granddaughter many years ago. And when she called us and had some of his memorabilia, the first thing she said to me was, "I don't have the baseball card. I don't have his baseball card." And this was the Honus Wagner family.
If she did, I'm not sure she'd be selling it at this point. It's a Picasso now. All right, let's get the final word for today. David had mentioned this earlier. The National is happening this week. And for those who are just becoming interested in all of this, Nick, let's start with you. How would you tell a newbie who's getting into this to start their collecting life?
Focus on rarity. Rarity is a subject that'll always, we'll always come back to. If a card's rare, whether it be population-wise or just from a serial numbering perspective, or even if it's listed as a short print, that's something that is a selling point for any card. So focus on that. I think first and foremost, you want selling points, and rarity is the number one selling point for any card.
And if you find the Honus Wagner, you can quit your day job. All right, Jesse Craig, for the newbies, what are you telling them to get into their collecting life?
I'd go with another R, research. Just do your homework, do your research. We have a lot of people that reach out to us and ask us for advice on what to do with whatever cards they have, maybe at their house, in their closet, or how to start. Go look up prices on eBay. Get educated on condition. You got to do your homework. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. This is an industry that takes some time to understand, and you got to start somewhere. So I would start looking on eBay, looking at sales, and look at how the whole grading process works. That's a good starting point.
And David, final word for you. What's your advice to the newcomers?
I would say, form relationships with dealers and auction houses that can help you kind of get focused and come up with a game plan of figuring out what you really like, whatever categories that could be. And then you can go on and again, educate yourself. There's a lot of books written, things like that. And whether it's rare cards, one-of-ones, you want to collect a 1952 top set, you want to collect game-used jerseys of some of the top 50 basketball players, game-used bats, let's say World Series rings, Super Bowl rings. There's so many great categories, and then kind of focus on that. So you don't try to do 40 different things, and usually then the collection won't go where you want it to go. And if you focus that way, you could really have a lot of fun with it and make it a special collection that's going to be something, again, 10, 20 years down the line that you can be proud of. And certainly with the quality and rarity of this and the way the market is, it'll be worth a lot more.
All right, great advice. All of you, enjoy the National. I know all of you will be there this week. And that will do it for this edition of the panel. For Jesse Craig, Nick Sapero, David Kohler, I'm Bram Weinstein. We'll see you next week.